Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Titans Tube. My name is Justin, and with me, as always, is Jake here, and we are going to not preview the Titans versus Steelers matchup in Week 4 because,
Jeez. Oh God.
Oh, it's okay. I'm by myself in my room. I can't spread anything except for to myself.
We are very social distance between Ohio and Tennessee, so we should have the 6 feet covered.
We're entire states distanced away, so we're good. Anyway, obviously, the COVID stuff happening with the Titans, man. Of course, it's the Titans that's got to now put a big question mark on the whole NFL season. Who knows what the future holds, but for now, the Titans at Steelers, as I'm sure everyone's heard, has been postponed and rescheduled to Week 7, which was our bye week. Steelers kind of legitimately are upset that they're getting kind of screwed in this situation when they didn't do anything wrong. And now they have to share a Week 4 bye with us. But anyway, Jake, we're just going to kind of discuss our thoughts about that. It's going to be a shorter video and just kind of the state of things right now around Titans football.
I mean, it just initial thought is this just sucks. It just sucks all around for, not only the Titans and the Titans fan community, but the entire NFL, because, it does feel like, we were kind of the first ones to maybe play spoiler on the whole NFL season. But who knows going forward? I've always been a believer that the NFL won't stop for much of anything, really. And especially when it's kind of confined to one team, albeit the Tennessee Titans. I think that the season will still play out, but I'm kind of worried and nervous about this Titans team potentially being penalized, having draft picks taken away. I know the NFL and NFLPA were traveling to the facility to kind of, I would assume, test protocols and kind of investigate, what this team could be doing wrong potentially.
Yeah.
So I'm worried about ramifications of this, and I'm worried about the Titans having to forfeit games. Frankly, I know some people think that's ludicrous, and I saw some tweets that said there's never been a forfeit in the 101 years of the NFL. There's never been a forfeit, which is encouraging.
Titans for accomplishing the first thing.
The Titans could be the first team to have to forfeit a game, which would suck. And obviously this whole thing sucks.
Yes.
We'll just hop into it. And the list, 8 players on the COVID list. 7 were diagnosed and test positive this week. The 8th player on the list is Isaiah Wilson, which isn't really news to anyone. But then it was defensive back Greg Maben, who was a practice squad guy. He's believed to be the first positive test among players. And then it goes to Daquan Jones, Bo Brinkley, the long snapper, practice squad tight end Tommy Hudson, Kamalea Correa, Christian Fulton, which was a huge blow to the secondary, and then the 2 wide receivers who tested positive this morning. We're filming Friday evening, and Adam Humphries and Cam Batson.
So some big,
just from a football aspect, some big names from a football aspect. I mean, it sucks, and you got to feel for these guys and their families and hope that they stay healthy and well throughout all this. And it, I keep saying it over and over again, but it just sucks. It just sucks for this team, and it sucks for those guys. It sucks for all 15 guys who are on the list right now, including all the staff. We only know Shane Bowen is the only confirmed staff member. They're not really detailing names there.
Right.
But hopping into the football aspect of things, you're being dealt huge blows with Daquan Jones and Christian Fulton, and then Adam Humphries, and even you could say Cam Batson's a huge blow to wide receiver depth.
Yeah.
Even with AJ Brown potentially coming back. But that being said, moving forward to Week 5, Week 4 obviously a wash, forced by with the Pittsburgh game. Moving to Week 7, if a player is symptomatic, and we know that one player is symptomatic out of this list. There's no chance for them to suit up. We don't know exactly which player, but just in information flows, there's one coach who's symptomatic and one player who's been listed as symptomatic, at least so far.
Yeah.
Obviously an ongoing situation as this whole pandemic has been since March. It's kind of a, new info every day. Everybody's kind of rolling with the punches kind of thing. But anyways, if a player on this list is symptomatic, which at least one is, there's no chance for them to suit up against Buffalo. But if they are asymptomatic, there's still a slight chance that they could suit up against Buffalo. I kind of don't see that happening in the current state of things. But fingers crossed that we could have Daquan Jones and we could have Bo Brinkley for and Adam Humphries and Christian Fulton. God, the list gets longer and longer. But go ahead, Justin.
Yeah, a lot of key names. I was just going to throw in, because we kind of mentioned it before we started recording, is even though if you contract the virus and you are asymptomatic, it can still spread. It's still contagious, right? I mean, if you're asymptomatic, but you're still like, you like breathe on someone's face. I don't know why I did that. That's not how people breathe, but if you do some of that in front of somebody's face, that's bad. And I don't know. If you're asymptomatic, but you're like sweat, and then that someone gets that sweat on them, and then it gets into their nose and face, and they're touching them.
It's a whole mess, man.
So I don't get that.
You would think
so. You're positive, and you're still at risk to spread it, is what my understanding was. But if it's going to help us win a football game, then put them all out on the field. Important thing we believe in here.
Oh God, yeah. Oh my God, yeah. And this fan community, the whole debate. You obviously feel for the guys, but we need our football, and that kind of idea. But it's just a real bad situation for this team, and it you really feel for Mike Vrabel having to step up to the plate and now deal with this and have this on his plate when
unprecedented
his team is 3-0.
And he's the first coach ever to have to deal with a situation like this. So I don't know. We'll see as the season goes along. I think a lot of teams might be watching the Titans, seeing how they handle this, seeing how Vrabel and the GM, John Robinson, how they kind of are handling this situation. And if it goes well or if it goes poorly, I mean, a lot of people are going to kind of keep us under a microscope and see what good things we're doing, what things we're doing wrong in our response to this.
I'm glad you brought that up with other teams too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought it up with other teams because, this was going to happen whether you believed it or not. There was going to be some sort of outbreak in the NFL because they're not in a bubble. And, the NBA and the NHL have been able to play successfully because they were in a bubble. And, once you have everybody in there, they're in there. It's not getting in. But, look at the MLB with the Miami Marlins. The whole season was in jeopardy, they thought, really early on with the Marlins getting a huge outbreak. But, the MLB soldiered through that. And you have to think that the NFL is kind of taking notes from that.
Yeah.
And the NFL fan base as a whole is kind of shitting on the Titans right now just because they're the first team to fall on this sword, so to speak. And they're the first team to really make this an issue in the NFL because they had gone 3 weeks with generally no positive tests. And it was really impressive for a while, but you knew it couldn't keep up. And I think this is going to happen to other teams.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you brought up other teams taking notes and watching how this progresses because this is going to happen again, I feel. And, who knows what the NFL's idea is moving forward. Maybe it's like college football where they add in extra weeks at the end of the season for postponed games. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
It just happened to work out great with the Titans-Pittsburgh game that, there was just a quick shuffling of bye weeks and the problem solved.
The short term is definitely a good solution that the NFL has, but bringing up the pushing the playoff season, the postseason back a week or two to allow rescheduled games to be played, I'm kind of not crazy about that just because I'm thinking about at the end of the season, I guess if you make the playoffs, then everybody gets a bye. Everybody gets 2 byes, and then if you're the number 1 seed, then you actually get those 2 byes plus the actual bye you earned. So you're not going to be playing a game for 3 weeks after the end of the season. That could have consequences too. So
good point.
It does make sense that you would want to have to reschedule these games and make room at the end of the season, but then there could be, some other implications and consequences to that for having all the other teams sit out. Like, say you're a team that didn't have any games postponed or rescheduled, and you play all 16 games, then suddenly you're waiting for the playoffs to come around for 2, maybe 3 weeks if you're the top seed.
Mm-hmm.
But of course you would rather have that than to, cancel the season, obviously, or have teams forfeit games. It's just kind of the state of where things are this season. And that's some teams are going to get screwed and not do anything wrong no matter what. I mean, the number one goal here is to have the whole NFL season played, all teams play their 16 games by maybe not any means necessary, but just taking every single, option and opportunity that's out there that they can go towards to make that happen. So if you're the Chiefs and you're sitting there at the end of the season with a bye week and you have to wait almost a month to play your first game, that sucks. But no one's coming out of this without a scratch or whatever. Put your own saying out there. So that is a good option. I'm wondering if the NFL will end up pushing back the postseason to reschedule games if this does continue to become an issue. Because I don't know, does it seem like to you the NFL is prepared for a situation where multiple teams may come up positive?
I mean, they have to have been prepared for at least one, and I think it's kind of a wait and see situation. The Titans, essentially are test subjects, some wordplay right there. I like it. But on how they're going to handle this whole thing, and the shuffling of bye weeks, that was a quick, easy fix that the NFL had in their back pocket. But I think they have to have a plan in place. You'd think, as this multi-billion-dollar entity, and the NFL owns a day of the week, they're going to have a plan in place for this to happen because they have to assume that this is going to happen. The buzzword of this is unprecedented. This has never really happened before. In modern times, so to speak. So you would hope the NFL has a plan in place. You hope they're not just flying by the seat of their pants, hoping. I hope nobody tests positive because it's not going to happen. It's just not realistic. But it just sucks for everybody who's coming up positive, and you really feel for them. And it's just a brutal time. But albeit, go ahead.
Go ahead. Well, finish your thought because I was going to kind of take it into a different direction. What were you going to say?
It's just you would think that the NFL has some plan, and I think the easiest patchwork plan is to add on those 2 weeks at the end of the year, and they have to assume that other teams are going to test positive.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I feel like that's the best solution, and it's going to suck for those teams that didn't have a single positive case, and they make the postseason. They're just going to have to sit and wait around, and maybe that works out. Maybe they're banged up, and so maybe that'll benefit them, or maybe it's like what I think was a Baltimore Ravens situation last year where they rested their starters the last game of the season on top of having a bye, and then we all know what happened against the Titans that first playoff game for them, and they came out flat. Titans rain right all over them. So,
and a lot of people in the media have been saying, it's not going to be fair. It's not going to be totally an even playing field with this. This is, the 2020 NFL season, as much as I hate to say it, is going to have an asterisk on it. Just because, the buzzword again, unprecedented times, and it's not going to be fair for everybody. It's already kind of unfair for Pittsburgh, as much as I want to be biased and say this isn't the Titans' fault, which, it's not. It's a pandemic. People are going to test positive. It just so happened. Yeah, exactly. It just so happened to be the Titans, and the Steelers were the first team to say, sorry, you get the short end of the stick. And that's that. It's not going to be fair this year. And that just sucks.
Yeah. And I kind of did want to go into that a little bit in the Titans situation specifically. because there's still a lot to learn. I think there's investigation going on about how this whole thing started with the Titans. Did the Titans do something wrong? Or was it just a case of, I think I saw a Kaharski tweet about it's suspicious that we brought in a guy for a practice squad position, signed him to the practice squad. He comes up positive, and then we release him. Was that Greg Maben? Was that the guy?
Yes, correct.
So was it a situation where we were doing everything right? He came in, somehow he tested positive. Whether he contracted it while he was here or from the outside.
Yeah, signing a new guy in season right now, he's got to produce at least 2 negative tests 24 hours apart from each other.
Right.
So, were those false negatives? Were they,
could be.
Was it just an incubation period with the virus coming up in the test? Who knows? And a lot of people don't know. And it's just a hairy situation. And like I said, it's not going to be fair for everybody involved.
Yeah. I kind of want to go a little deeper into that, because Greg Maben, so we released him before the season started, right? Like, this was weeks ago. Like, wasn't this at the end of August, maybe?
I believe so.
I might be wrong about that. You guys can fact check me. So what we do know is Shane Bowen definitely tested positive, and he was left behind. He did not go on the flight to Minnesota. I think it was the Saturday before the game on Sunday.
Correct.
So he wasn't there. Other Titans players, I think he was the only positive we knew of at the time, but players like Daquan Jones, Correa, Fulton, Humphreys, who are now testing positive, it's interesting to see when they actually contracted it, because you got to think with Daquan Jones, is if he was COVID positive during that game, he's down there in the trenches. He's down there with other bodies, just in scrums, and he's got to be sweating and breathing. He's in guys' faces. He's putting hands on guys. I mean, that's the natural position for the defensive lineman. You use your hands, and I would be very surprised if he didn't. Well, he didn't infect or.
That's one of the positives coming out of this.
Yeah,
week.
Vikings are clean.
All the Vikings tests are negative.
So if we had him and Bo Brinkley, the long snapper, and Humphreys playing, and Fulton playing, and they all had it, if they had it on Sunday, then I'm very surprised that a single Minnesota Viking player is still testing negative. So I'm thinking, did this happen on a Monday? There is that story about the bus driver in Minnesota who did end up contracting it. So it's a little confusing, because I feel like, if Daquan Jones had it and he was contagious, he definitely would have given it to a few other Vikings, especially on the offensive line, playing a full game like that. So
you think?
Very, very weird. There's still a lot to learn, and hopefully they can track it down to see the starting point of when this started spreading just within the Titans and the Titans bubble. So
for sure.
Very, very strange. Yeah. A lot to learn still. Hopefully the positive test stops, though. Hopefully Humphreys.
I wanted to go into that kind of, just the window we're looking at right now is Buffalo. Is the Buffalo game going to happen? Mm-hmm. And I think, for my understanding, is that the positive tests have to stop coming in this weekend. I think I said it earlier, we're filming on Friday night. These tests have to stop coming in positive during this weekend for the Buffalo game to go on as scheduled. And once you start postponing, I think, multiple games, that could be bad. That could start, you could start seeing forfeitures and maybe if this investigation by the NFL and NFLPA comes up that the Titans are doing something wrong and they've caused this entire schedule mess up, they're going to be docked draft picks. And I don't think a forfeit's off the table, especially if it's the Titans' fault.
Right.
But looking forward, so hypothetically say that this positive test stops starting tomorrow morning, Saturday morning. That would be the best news overall, because you've got a healthy team and no more guys are getting sick. That's number one. Mm-hmm. And then number two, your homestand schedule wise has not really been affected, other than your bye week crept up to week 4. And then now you're still playing the 3 straight home games against Buffalo, Houston, and Pittsburgh, where it was Pittsburgh, Buffalo, Houston. So in the grand scheme of things, if positive tests stop Saturday morning, that would be best case scenario for multiple reasons. But from a football aspect of things, your schedule is not getting messed up that much, and the season isn't being affected as a whole, and other teams aren't being dragged into this either at that point. Just sorry, Pittsburgh. I mean, you guys were the unlucky ones, and the Titans are the unlucky ones too. I mean, it's just not going to be fair for everyone. So let's just keep fingers crossed that these positive tests stop rolling in this weekend, and then we can kind of keep moving on and get back to playing football.
Yeah, and kind of going on with just looking at it from a football perspective, how does this help or hurt the Titans if this is the end of the positive testing? I think you would agree that the bye week in week 4 actually works out for us, and it comes at a good time because we're getting close with having number 1 receiver A.J. Brown back, getting close with number 1 corner Adoree Jackson to have back. So that's definitely going to boost the football team. And of course, Lawan with the shoulder injury, we're told that it wasn't major. But he may have missed this Pittsburgh game. He may be ready, hopefully, against Buffalo now. So it may work out where he doesn't have to miss any games at all. So that would help us. But the guys that contracted the virus, you got to remember that there is still that 10-day period where they have to not test positive anymore to be eligible to return to the team. So these late positive tests like Humphreys, Batson, we'll have to see about Fulton, who was a couple days ago. I'd count out the 10 days or whatever, but Batson and Humphreys, the Buffalo game as of today is less than 10 days away, so they're not going to be
You would think they're not going to be available. Yes, correct.
Yeah, because they're not going to make that time frame, that window to not test positive. So we would be without them, but hey, I mean, this is what the 2020 NFL season is going to bring now, and hopefully the Titans are the only victims. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how testing goes. See how Titans handle it.
Exactly. Ongoing situation. We'll see. I hope that this time next week we're filming Buffalo preview video. That would be great. That would be ideal. But again, thinking about the players who have tested positive, their families, and just hopefully they can stay healthy. Or get healthy and stay healthy, I should say, and just hope for the best moving forward. And I opened with it, and I said it multiple times, and I'll finish with it. It just sucks, and that's the 2020 NFL season. It just sucks. It just sucks. Why couldn't it have been the Jets? I joke. That was a joke. That was a joke.
They're already having a hard enough time, Jake. This is the last thing the Jets need. They might disband the football team if they were.
That was a joke.
The outbreak. It was funny. Oh, man. I enjoyed it.
Thank you. All right, but anyways, do you have any closing thoughts here?
No thoughts. Just keeping a close eye on things. Hopefully, the Titans handle this the right way. Gotta have faith. Gotta have hope that they're making the right moves. And
you gotta have faith. Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah. Okay. Good breakdown.
George Michael to wrap it up. Just following this ongoing situation and hope for the best and continue to tighten up, I suppose.
We'll always continue to tighten up no matter what happens with football.
Absolutely.
Even during the off season, it's always tighten up time.
Always.
Yeah, guys, fingers crossed. We just wanted to give our thoughts, our outlook on the current situation happening with the NFL and with the Titans. Oh, come on, boys. You're making us look bad. You're making us look bad by being the team that everyone's hating now. No, only joking. It was inevitable.
Yeah,
someone's got to.
It just
has got to set this
exactly.
Set the path to how to contract COVID and then how to handle it. We're leading the charge here.
Hey, trailblazers, if you will.
Just like how we're leading the charge in the AFC South. All right, yes. And on a positive note. And we'll still be leading the AFC South because we can't lose this week. So, all right.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully see you guys next week for the Buffalo preview. That's the plan.
That is the plan. We will do another update video if there's news about another postponement or if there's any other major news that drops. We'll make a video about it and talk about it. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Like, subscribe, comment, and all that jazz.
I like it. Let's do it.
All right.
All right, guys. See
Take
y'all
it
next
easy,
time.
y'all.
Peace.